we are back.
Hey,
Second
yes,
epi
yes, yes, we
second
are.
episode of Guys in Black.
Yes.
What's up with you? What's up with you?
Very good afternoon to
Good
you
afternoon to
and
you
to
too.
everyone,
Happy weekend.
whoever is listening. Yes, yes. So let's jump into it. So I
Yes.
think today's topic, I feel would be a good way to start and talk about India's, the sort of the overall digital landscape and how it's shaping India's economy. Interesting topic, definitely,
Yes.
and something that's been talked about in a lot of business circles. So let's I think start with your thoughts. I'll obviously jump in and add in, wherever I can. But definitely, I would love to hear your thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic also because I guess your generation and my generation as well, we've sort of really seen the transition, from of the digital boom that the India is sort of leveraging right now. I mean,
Right.
if you talk about like the use of smartphones, or if you talk about the internet penetration or the rise of e-commerce and stuff like that, we've really seen it building up like literally from zero. Like the current generation, they might not have seen it like from scratch. For them, the transition probably would have been like from e-commerce to QCom, or from an inventory model to a sort of a marketplace model, or vice versa. But we've actually seen from like an offline to, we've seen the hardships of when digital economy was not there, so to speak. So it's an interesting topic, definitely. But yeah, I mean, the larger opportunity for me to actually think about is what India as a country and we can leverage. Like if you just see the numbers for us as a country, they're just staggering. 750 million plus internet users, 650 million plus smartphone users. I guess I was reading somewhere that by 2030 we'll be probably more than 500 million plus online shoppers, active online shoppers in some form or the other. So these numbers are like at a macro level also, these are like just immense numbers. So now on one hand you see the digital boom, and then there are opportunities for us and people like us in terms of what can be built over it, how can we make the life for common Indian better by providing services on it. And then on the other hand, we are also seeing that same benefit of digital economy transferring to the last strata of the country as well, by just by when you talk about things like DBT, which is direct benefit transfer, where you're actually benefiting all government, sort of just transferring all government benefits directly to the end consumer without any sort of leakages and stuff like that. So we have actually seen the benefit of the digital economy really helping country grow at a much faster scale than what it was probably earlier. But that's just like the basic thought initially.
So you mentioned government benefits. So I think talk about also some of the government initiatives that you feel can be taken to sort of really boost the digital economy.
I mean, so apart from the fact that all like sort of government grants, which regard not just central government but state governments are also sort of pushing for, they're all now being transferred. Whether it's a farmers grant, whether it's a grant for women education or women empowerment, it's all being it's all being transferred directly to bank. Unlike the older days when there was like multiple channels and multiple middlemen involved. So as it was once said that if I by one of the prime ministers, that if I transfer 1 rupee from my government's bank account, eventually the end consumer ends up getting like 0.15 paise, because 85 paise goes down as a leak. That's sort of stuff. Obviously there are certain pros and cons, but yeah, like we see the benefit of the JAM Trinity, which the current government has been like champion of, the benefit of it being leveraged by the state governments as well as the end citizen as well.
Got it. Using some pretty intense, terminology. So can you explain what that JAM thing is? I think for people who don't
So
know what it is.
JAM is the Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, and mobile, right? So
Okay.
how the government started first with opening up free bank accounts for all the citizens, just to promote banking as a culture, because earlier people were sort of not involved with the formal economy as much. They were sort of dependent on cash economy plus the money lenders, which used to suck the blood out of them by heavy lending rates and stuff like that. So they started first with Jan Dhan account, then Aadhaar further enabled by the transfer of digital benefits, because then Aadhaar was sort of linked to each and every digital asset in your identity, and then so to your bank as well. So every benefit that a government sort of announced was provided based on your identity, which was linked to one account. So earlier, as there were problems like people were taking those who were scamsters, they would probably take multiple benefits for the same user, because there was no proper record or there was no sort of mechanism to transfer. Now that was stopped. And third thing was obviously the benefit of mobile, which was there with the lower rates of data, the internet penetration, the smartphone penetration, which led to further ease of upskilling, ease of education penetration in India, because with internet and with smartphone, what we also saw that access to education and access to sort of upskilling and development sort of became easier for a larger part of the country. So I think together these three became the JAM Trinity, which sort of boosted the India economy.
Awesome. Lastly, just talk about, or I think just touch upon the tech landscape. You obviously mentioned the initiatives as well, amongst other things. But what about the tech landscape and how I think that can sort of boost, the digital economy? And I think talk about not only, technologies like artificial intelligence and everything that's coming in and becoming like pretty big. Also talk about, I guess, influencer marketing and like social media and how that's played a role, in boosting the economy.
Yeah, so just to begin with, the I guess the biggest example of the tech landscape for the digital economy has been in the domain of, I guess, payments. The rise of digital payments and the ease of it at which we've been able to deploy the technology to the end consumer is something which not only we as Indians appreciate, but people abroad also appreciate the way we've been able to deploy. And I can sort of speak on it a little more on a personal level, because my last 2.5, 3 years I've worked in the paytech industry. So I saw actually the deployment of how payment technology was leveraged because of the digital penetration that we were able to achieve as a country, whether
Right.
it's UPI, whether it's bank transfer, whether it's simply or technologies like UPI Lite. Another part of the digital penetration and digital technology is also what we've been able to see that has helped is on the e-commerce space, where your other allied sort of services that help commerce reach out to different nook and corner of the country, that has been sort of made easy, and that has been simplified because of the digital penetration and the rise of digital economy, because now with mobile everything is sort of accessible, through with internet everything is sort of accessible to everyone. So that is definitely there. And yeah, I guess the last thing I would say is not exactly primarily the influencer marketing bit, but largely, but also on a broader level, the whole content and media narrative bit, and also about the information slash misinformation thing aspect of the technology penetration. We've seen that YouTube has penetrated to the larger sort of span of the country. The good thing about a country like ours is that it's not just restricted to what probably like something like Twitter has not been able to or X has not been able to achieve. It is still sort of restricted, I would say, in the metros and tier one cities of the country. YouTube has been able to achieve that because of the vernacular, this expanse of vernacular content, which is sort of grown significantly. So you have like micro level, niche level, news channels, content channels, micro nano influencers. You are sort of become like the narrative builders in the smaller microcosm or the community that they've sort of built for themselves, and every, I would say, at a very small, not even like a state or a city level, but probably like a district level. So that kind of penetration has definitely happened, which has sort of create, I would say, there's a plus side to it and there's a downside to it as well, that there is a lack of control in terms of how you actually stop a certain kind of communication to go out, which can lead to misinformation or disinformation. But the plus side to it is that it has sort of increased a lot of transparency to it as well. Earlier, communication was only restricted to government channels, and you would only know what, let's say, the authorities of the government would want you to know. But now that's not the case. Everybody is sort of aware. Anybody who has internet and a decent mobile will probably be aware of what's happening, not just in India, but probably world over. So that's definitely so. Communication, narrative setting, has definitely become easier and expansive because of the digital penetration that we've been able to achieve. And obviously, one I would say the side aspect of it has become the rise of influencer economy that we're currently seeing right now, where sort of everybody has become a sort of narrative builder, and have sort of built a certain voice for themselves, where they can sort of shape certain decisions, I would say. So yeah, that's definitely one of the aspects.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of that you said makes sense. I think just one of the things that I probably just disagree a little bit on the Twitter front end, at least, that is X. You'll be surprised to know actually even X has a lot of penetration, and I think they are working on having vernacular
Hmm.
languages. So I don't know how much you
Yeah, they're
use
working
X.
on it, definitely. Yeah.
No, I mean it's there. It's not. It's not like comparatively to probably YouTube to an certain extent, but definitely there is a lot of it.
Hmm.
Now, which is in tier two, tier three cities as well, and a lot of people on there are getting a lot of their news now from there. So the mainstream media in a lot of sense is kind of dead.
Hmm.
And and Twitter and X is where people usually are getting their news today, right? So yeah, that's about it. But yeah, like good to hear overall, like your thoughts on the entire sort of digital economy and how it's going to sort of shape the landscape going forward. Any parting or finishing thoughts
What do
before we
you
end the
think about
discussion?
what do you think about the whole thing? Obviously, it was my POV, but I know, knowing your experience, you've actually seen from the commerce side, you've actually seen the business sort of change because of the whole business landscape change because of the rise of digital economy. Multiple services has, came up, multiple business opportunities came up, models changed significantly. You were also part of it. So how do you see the whole transition, and what do you think of what will be the next big thing in India and the digital economy?
See, I mean, I've already seen it very closely, from the tech perspective, been in tech, also not just purely fintech, but overall, different kinds of deep tech that I've worked upon in the last 10, 15 years. So definitely, I think that has really changed and evolved over time. As we all know and use, tools like ChatGPT, for example, or Gemini. on a day-to-day basis. That has really eased life not only for individuals but businesses, and I think that kind of has made like a lot of people's tasks like or made a lot of people in general very productive, right? So I think in terms of evolution and just now being able to do multiple things, save time with mundane tasks, I think that kind of has sort of changed and evolved over time. So a lot of people now have a lot more time on their hands to do multiple things. So I think that definitely ties into the fact that more the production sort of increases, right? And someone's utilization of the time increases. So hence overall, the economy is sort of going to benefit, right? When people are able to do more with their limited time. So yeah, so I think that in that perspective, definitely things are very different than it used to be when we started, or at least when I started, tech was at a very nascent stage in India. But at least even if you see today, not just from the private sector, but also the government sector, they're very tech savvy, right? Like all government websites today, like are sort of up to date with the latest tech. Just to give you an example, even like, for example, like, websites like the UP, for example, land records, right now, most of them are digitized. And that was unheard of, from my sort of parents' time, or at least even my time. If you have land in somewhere in UP, like it's very hard to, find out sort of details on it if you don't have the proper paperwork. But today, just you can go online, you can go on websites and, find those land records exactly, find the map and any other detail that you may need, and how easy it has become versus, what it used to be, right? So definitely a lot has changed, and I think it will continue to change. And I think I overall feel this is a very interesting topic of conversation for us. Maybe we can probably do like a deeper dive going forward and do like a sort of like a podcast as well about this, and have the discussion at large. But yeah, but lastly, like I said, any other parting thoughts for you so before we sort of wrap it up?
No, I think exciting times. We'll just have to be part of what's, growing and what's sort of building here, and be part of that journey. And wherever we can contribute, we'll contribute. Wherever we can sort of leverage, we'll leverage the opportunities which are coming.
Perfect. So we'll wrap it up, and hope everyone enjoyed the sort of the video by the end of it. We will be back tomorrow with the third episode. So the idea with like these videos also has been for us to just cover not only trending topics, but get into things that might interest like a lot of people. So we will be coming into more topics. If you guys have more suggestions, do write to us and let us know things that you may want us to cover. We'll be happy for any suggestions or feedback. But stay tuned, and then we shall be back with the next episode.